We are about to welcome in a great live panel also addressing workforce challenges during and following COVID-19. The wonderful Carrie Charles, CEO of Broadstaff, calls this time Normal 2.0, which I love. We're looking so forward to this live conversation between Carrie, along with our very own Steve Yapsuga of Telecom, who's going to moderate our panel. We've also got Lori Turk with us on board, Director of Business Development and Advantage Engineers, and then Doug Fishman, big winner, Doug, from SQUAN, Director of DAS. If you'd like to join that session, stay right here. We're going to go live to it. I'm going to turn it over to Steve Yapsuga's hand, which is taking up a large quantity of the camera. We're all going to gather right back here at 1 o'clock in this space for a Q&A with our live panel team and also with Steve and with Lori. We'll take a deeper dive into how to set up for the workforce of the future. Again, thank you guys for joining. Go ahead and click on the other link if you'd like to join the video. Otherwise, we're going to go live with our panel right now. Take it away, Steve.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Steve. And this is as live as it gets, because literally we were going through cameras, we were going through phones, everybody's jumping around. So I love doing it live. This is the way to go. So welcome, everyone. Want to thank everybody for joining this this fun conversation. And, I got to tell you that, besides everyone's increase for the admiration of nature, the sudden found new interests in hiking, remote beach going, Zooming, home recipes, COVID has flipped the script in infrastructure communications with the demands for a more remote workforce, less face-to-face interaction, demands for increased precautions at construction sites, and emergency evacuations if an employee catches COVID. Simply doing a lot more with a lot less. We ask ourselves now, well into the third quarter of COVID-19, are we finally reaching an inflection point? Schools and universities are beginning to open. The NFL is ready to get started. And yesterday, Amazon just announced that they plan to hire 30,000 people to its workforce in 6 cities. I've got 3 industry experts to weigh in on this Normal 2.0, including from engineering, project management, the construction marketplace, and national staffing. Lori Turk, Director of Business Development at Advantage Engineers. Doug Fishman, Director of DAS at SQUAN. Carrie Charles, CEO at Broadstaff. Many of us have been discussing this for some time, and for this group, it's actually been for many months. Lori, your company supports multiple locations throughout the US. How are companies today handling this continuous issue? Lori? I don't know if Lori's still with us, but I will pass that. I'm going to pass that along because this is truly live. So let's start with Doug. Doug, you're a New Yorker and your company's been in the epicenter with everything going on. How has this impacted the way that your teams work in the field?
All right. Good question, Steve. It's amazing that how little of an impact it's really ultimately had. I mean, we've certainly been impacted in terms of the precautions we had to take on job sites. The PPE, particularly wearing masks all day while working in hot environments, let's say, has been difficult, but we've certainly been able to persevere, under those conditions. Things like daily temperature checks, screenings, they've really gotten that to a science, really hasn't been impacting at all. And if anything, because so many venues have been closed to the public, which of course at a high level is a bad thing, but from an installation standpoint, it's a good thing. We've been able to get more work done in these public venues like malls and offices and hotels, because of the fact that we don't have the restrictions of avoiding the public. But that's now starting to change. In the city, they're opening up malls this week, actually. Gyms are open and other things are happening that's going to put us back to the old normal, so to speak. The other thing is that we hadn't anticipated is getting to sites, getting out in the field has been much easier because people are working from home. So lighter traffic, shorter commutes, has all been a positive. So, all in all, it's been, it hasn't been bad for us, as a field installation company.
Good. Lori, let's go back to you because we lost you just for a moment. I was going to ask you, how do you see this impacting companies with multiple commercial offices? Is this going to change their long-term outlook of doing business?
I think it may. I can speak for us. We have staff in 18 locations with 15 actual offices. So we're already, have locations where everyone's virtual. We have 1 or 2 locations where we're using shared office space with the rest being leased space. It definitely makes sense for us to reevaluate whether we need all of that space and also how we're using the space. Many of our employees are out in the field much of the time, and then on the other hand, we have engineering staff, designers and drafters who might find it easier to work in an office setting where they have the monitor set up and all the tools that they need to do their job. But it's definitely, having us assess whether we need all of the space that we have. So I definitely think other companies are doing that as well.
Carrie, as the CEO, what has been your outlook from a staffing standpoint, specifically over the past quarter? Are you seeing a trend with specific roles and requirements opening or closing? I don't think, Carrie, we can't hear you for a moment. I'm not sure. I think we're running into a little bit of audio issue for a moment. Carrie, I'm gonna take that back to you. I'm gonna take the question back to you when if they can fix that audio for a moment. So my apologies. Doug, we're gonna go back to you for a moment here. What are you finding your challenges of managing a virtual workforce? So, this is going to be a two-posed question for both yourself and for Lori. So let's start off with you, Doug.
All right. Here at SQUAN, we're pretty used to working with a virtual workforce. We've got folks, not only all over the tri-state area here, but in different parts of the country, and kind of part of our old normal, is managing people in the field and managing people remotely. If anything, some of these new tools out there, these video conference services, we've just started using Zoom like a month or 2 ago, have certainly been helpful for us. But, we weren't a typical company where everyone comes into the office every day anyway. So, not a big impact.
Lori, same question.
A lot of people in our company are also used to working virtually, and we had all the tools in place. I think we've done a number of things to be more purposeful in how we communicate. Besides just typical regular communications from company leadership, we've also really reinforced with our frontline managers to check in with their people and just make sure they're okay. We have 28 fundamentals that we call the Advantage Way that helps drive our success. And the second one is take care of each other. So that's part of our culture already. And that includes reaching out to check on your teammates, see how things are from a mental health perspective too, while we're all trying to juggle this, work-life balance in the normal, 2.0 that we're talking about. So another thing that we did was we undertook a few surveys, one earlier on in the pandemic to get a pulse on how people were feeling and get feedback on the company's response to the pandemic. We created a mailbox for people to continue to submit questions, concerns, suggestions. and ideas. And then we did a second survey around returning to the office to see how everybody felt about going back in.
Excellent, excellent. And surveys obviously make a big difference with just being able to get that impact, because all companies are different shapes and sizes. And when we talk about that, Carrie, do you have your audio? Are we good?
I think I do. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I had to just take those ear pods off and jump on my laptop. So hey, we're flexible. We can do this.
All good, all good. So let's go back, Carrie, real quick. So talking, as the CEO, looking at the staffing from a staffing perspective, over just this past quarter, not the beginning of the year, but just this past quarter, are you seeing a trend with specific roles with opening or closing? Or what's the landscape look like over the past quarter?
Yeah, so over the past quarter, we have seen quite an uptick in outside plant roles. So everything, laborers, fiber installers, directional drillers, aerial. I mean, we just can't find enough of them. It's been an incredible demand. Wireless roles, it's been tough. I mean, we really flipped from having, let's say, 70% wireless, 30% outside plant. We just flipped, and then we became 90% outside plant there for a while this quarter. We're seeing wireless come back now, which is exciting to see. It's just really in the past probably 2 or 3 weeks or so, we've seen more RF engineer roles, site acquisition roles. This is exciting news. In staffing, we usually get to see it first and feel it first, what's coming, because the companies are going to staff up, or they tell us what they're going to need in the next month, 2, 3 months. And so we tend to see those trends first. It's a good sign because it means work is getting released and there's movement for sure. The other role that we've seen an uptick in is sales roles. And this is also exciting because back in the February through, let's say, June, salespeople were getting laid off. And it's not necessarily just the weaker salespeople that were getting laid off. There was some top talent because they were getting paid a lot. And so now what we're seeing is there's an opportunity to hire some incredible sales talent right now, and many companies are taking advantage of that.
Let's look at it. Let me follow up with this question with you, Carrie. Are you seeing, because we want to look at the trend here and look at the spend, are you seeing a correlation with the size of the company to their increase in staffing, with the size itself, with maybe small, medium business? Or are you looking at large cap corporations? Where do you see that trend?
Yeah, that's very interesting. You should ask. We are seeing a trend more in the small to medium-sized companies where the hiring is the greatest. The carriers, the Sprint T-Mobile merger placed hiring on hold for them. Verizon, spending freeze for 5G, hiring been on hold. AT&T really not spending, and Dish is hiring a lot, and that's going to pick up incredibly over the next 4 to 6 months. Even companies that are with, let's say, 2,000, 3,000, 5,000 employees, we've seen freezes there as well. So I do think that the majority of our work and our recs have come from small to mid-sized companies just in the past quarter, and as we're sitting here right now.
You wonder if PPP has attributed to any of that too, because certainly a lot of the small, medium business have taken advantage of PPP, and whether or not that's going to help infuse more capital or not. So that would be interesting to see over the long run. Let's kind of pivot a little bit. So Lori, let's talk about school. Let's talk about kids going back to school, starting, colleges, universities, whether they're taking this hybrid approach. I've seen lots of, different skits on YouTube with people taking all different types of roles, pretty funny stuff. How is it impacting you personally and your teams? How does that impact your project management? How does it impact just the day-to-day activities for you and your teams?
Great question. I mean, as I sit here, I'm hoping that my kids don't barge in and my dog doesn't start barking.
Lori, we can't hear you for some reason. I think we have a little bit of an audio. Lori?
Okay. My mic is on.
This is what truly live is all about.
Exactly.
I'm going to try to, I can interpret if you want to use sign language, we can interpret. No, we're just joking.
Yeah.
All right.
Lori, I hear you fine.
Yeah, keep going. Yeah,
All right.
please keep going.
Okay, so yeah, exactly that. And as I sit here hoping that my kids don't barge in or my dog doesn't start barking. But I think we're all dealing with that. And as a company, I think we found our equilibrium. Had to, of course, be creative and flexible, but we pride ourselves on that anyway. We have to just make accommodations as needed, working around different schedules and while ensuring that overall the team can deliver for our customers. But, I just think that we're used to figuring things out and making sure we can get things done, and this is no different. So I think we'll work through it.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to move this over a little bit about challenges in managing a virtual workforce, because this is certainly another challenge that we have. I'm going to start off with you, Doug. What are you finding with your challenges with your teams, your management, the leadership with managing virtual workforces? Do you see this as an advantage for you? What type of impact and what types of steps have you taken with your teams?
So I'm not sure I would call it an advantage, but we've certainly, I've certainly made accommodations myself and as a company in terms of maintaining regular communications with everyone, because now you're no longer, sitting together in an office and can just walk next door and pop your head in. It's, making that effort to, have a call or a texting or emails or, keeping in touch with people on a daily basis. So, so you're there when they need support and vice versa, keeping on top of projects. It's caused us to be certainly more cognizant to maintaining that communication and keeping everything on track.
Carrie, I know your team has expanded quite a bit in the last happy hour. I think it was yesterday or the day before, you had mentioned about your team expanding. Can you comment on whether this is an advantage or disadvantage from a virtual workforce standpoint? How's that changing for you and your management and leadership?
Well, there's our internal team, which is recruiting, operations, and sales. And then we also have our field team members that are working for our clients. So, how it's really affected us internally, it's quite interesting, because our business model for the first 5 years has been, we are going to build our recruiting team at our headquarters in Tampa. And that's completely flipped. And now we are building our team remote nationwide. And we have access to talent that we would have never had access before. And it's been pretty exciting, but it's also presented many challenges for us and leadership, because we're learning how to hire, lead, engage, and maintain the culture in a virtual environment. In fact, we brought in a specialist last week that he specializes in leading virtual teams. And he has been coaching us and sitting in on our meetings and really helping us to design this new virtual workplace. So that's been pretty exciting. With our clients, what we're seeing has been a challenge from this virtual world is remote interviewing, onboarding, and training. And that's been challenging. We usually start with a phone call for an initial interview, but then many times that goes to face-to-face, and we can't do that now. So it has to go to video interview. And then many times that hiring decision's made without ever laying eyes on that person. And then the onboarding virtual. And what's even more challenging is sometimes the training piece. So I think that we're all moving through the challenges. I'm never going back to the way it was. And I know many other leaders are not either.
Do you see this as an advantage then, Carrie? Is it helping accelerate your process?
Yes, it's a huge advantage for us. We've been able to grow and scale faster than I ever thought possible. And it's really opened my eyes to a new way of doing business, this virtual world and national. And it's just been exciting. So we are planning on doubling the size of our team. We've already hired, I think, about 5 people. We have maybe another 7 or 8 to go. And again, we've got the work to support it. So we've got quite a few clients and some new accounts that we're really excited about. So yeah, huge advantage, definitely.
Excellent, excellent. I know the past couple of days we've sent out a poll. So we had put together a poll for the group and the association and those attendees, and we got some interesting results back. So what I'm going to do is share some of these results. I'm not going to be able to share them over the screen, but what I am going to do is I'm going to just read them out. So the first question was, what is your outlook for staffing in the telecom industry for the remainder of 2020? And we had an average rating of 3, which is 3 stars. I like to give that answer. I was talking to Carrie about this before, of like basically giving a 7 out of 10, which is really not a strong indicator one way or the other out of the entire poll. But I can tell you the next 2 responses were rather interesting. The second question was, has the pandemic resulted in changes in how you work that you see becoming the norm moving forward? And out of the group, we had 70% responding significant lasting change. Lori, would you like to comment on that, on the response of 70%?
I take what Carrie was saying is she's seeing some of the benefits to being able to work in more of a virtual way. Of course, we all like to be together. We'd like to be collaborative and see each other on a regular basis. But if you can be more location agnostic as to where you're hiring, that gives you a huge advantage. And if your employees are able to, maybe have some more work-life balance and more flexibility in how they work, I mean, that's another, I think, benefit and can help retain people and keep them happy. So that doesn't surprise me. Also, what we talked about with commercial real estate and those types of lasting changes. So absolutely. And I think everybody just learning how to work together better virtually, it will have a lasting impact.
Doug, what about yourself? Are you seeing that this is going to be the new norm, or do you see it going back to what it was back in November, December of last year?
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with Lori on that. It's definitely, changing the way things are going to be moving forward. I don't see us going back to the way we were, going into the office. We were kind of going in that direction anyway. This just kind of pushed us over the edge. So, the new norm is going to be the new norm moving forward.
Okay, let's go to the next question. Or Carrie, do you have any other comments that you'd like to add?
Yeah, just quickly. And 1 year ago, it was so difficult to get hiring managers to even consider remote workers. I mean, it was almost impossible. And even though it would have been better for them, so like what Doug said, push them over the edge. Now, so many of our hiring managers are saying that they love it and they aren't going back. Now, there could be a hybrid type situation where there'll be people working remote as well as from home. But I do believe, and I agree with everything said here, that I don't believe it's going back to the way it was.
Okay, so let's move on to the third question. How has the pandemic impacted your company hiring plans this year? And we had still hiring, but on a smaller scale as planned. 51% answered as so, and then 19% was still hiring as planned with no impact. What is your take, Lori, on those responses of still hiring but on a smaller scale? Do you think that holds true with you and your company and those that you associate with?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think, obviously there's some pumping of the brakes due to uncertainty around the pandemic. I know for us, we've been hiring. In fact, we've grown 8% in the last 4 months. I think, we're seeing things are starting to quickly ramp up, and we're doing what we can to prepare for that. And the hiring needs have come from both wireless and wireline. So yeah, maybe it wouldn't have been to the extent that we would have been hiring had there not been a pandemic. But I still think, we're hiring and moving ahead. We provide an essential service, and the demand is still out there.
Doug, would you agree Do you see the same?
Yeah, yes, absolutely. Our hiring is really driven by the work at hand and the work coming up. And because we haven't, seen a huge impact in terms of the work that we're getting and the work coming up, it really hasn't had a big impact on hiring for us.
Carrie, I'll let you have the final words for this polling question. What are you seeing with kind of an economic impact with your team, but I guess holistically with the industry?
So it's interesting with staffing firms, we usually feel the impact when companies don't need to hire extra people. So let's say, for instance, you've heard from many people that we're still hiring, and the poll says, that it hasn't affected us that much. Maybe we're not going to hire as much. But to use a staffing firm, many times if they're going to get multiple roles, they need to have a lot of work and need to hire up quickly. So we are feeling the effects of that. And many of our roles are, let's say, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 versus 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 and above. And that is really telling. So I believe that the fear is beginning to ease, and it's almost like there's a social proof. Like people want to see, okay, are they hiring? Is my competition hiring? What are they doing? What are you doing? So we're feeling like that the needle's starting to move. People are starting to be a little bit more comfortable. We're hearing from clients that we haven't heard from in 6, 7 months. And, really what I'd like to leave everyone with is this, that, there is opportunity in uncertainty. And I think at this point, there's amazing opportunity to take advantage of talent that you would have never been able to touch a year ago. So I think it is the absolute best time to hire right now. So I say put fear aside and take advantage of the opportunities present today.
Wonderful, wonderful. I'd like to thank my panelists today. I'd like to thank the association and certainly everybody for their time. I believe we are going to be cutting over, and I'm not sure if Steve is there, but we are going to be cutting over. So I want to thank everyone for your comments.
Thank you so much, Steve. Thanks to the entire panel. Nobody needs to go anywhere. This is the beauty of it. You guys are already live. We just go to invite our other group in. We're going to bring Lori and Steve on board with us as well. They're hanging out at the waiting room. We're just going to add them in. And look, all of a sudden now we've got a nice full frame. We've got a true Brady Bunch thing happening up here, which is great. Guys, my only negative here is that we've got all 6 of you, and you're all amazing, and you bring such wonderful perspectives and expertise, and I hate that we only have about 5 minutes, so let's jump right in. And I want to actually, Steve Turner, kind of start with you. As our selected charity here for the year, what we just ended up with, what Carrie just left us with, that positivity, that sense of energy that says there is opportunity in uncertainty. And Carrie, you are so right. But Steve, it goes to what you were saying over in your session, which was this idea of bringing awareness to the trades and really changing people's minds about them. We need to bring people into what it is that we do. That is imperative. But how do we begin to let them know that, first of all, it's cool, that there are so many great opportunities, and that there are these wonderful organizations out there wanting to put them to work? How do we start to change that paradigm?
Well, first, I want to say thank you for having me. It's a pleasure being here. I can only see you now. I mean, I can see myself. Is that all right?
Yeah, that's perfect. You keep going.
Cheers. Going. Oh, hold on. Nope. Can't. Basically, I think, it starts. There we go. Perfect. Now I can see you all. It starts at home, I think. I think it starts with the parents. I think it's a loaded question, like you say. There's so many, I've been doing this for 2.5 years. It's a loaded question. There's so many variables to it, no matter who you speak to. But, I think it starts at home. It's the teachers, the counselors, the business owners. But I think it starts at home, teaching the kids and the individuals that the trades are cool. And like I've told Lori, I tell everybody, the trades of today are not the trades of our time. Make this quick. I'll just say one thing. Auto mechanic, in my day, if you went into an auto mechanic, they were covered with grease. You go into any dealership today, they're all with iPads, laptops, and computers. There's not much grease. It's the trades of all are totally different today.
Yeah, we just have to get that word out there. And actually, I was hearing as I hopped right back into the end of the live panel here, Lori, Doug, you guys were both saying that despite some of the pressures that we're feeling right now and some of the stresses, that hiring is actually going well. It hasn't really necessarily affected the hiring. The trends are good. We're pushing forward. My question then is, how do we square that up with finding the people who actually want to do the jobs? And I'll let any of you, Lori, Carrie, either of the Loris. Yeah, right. We have a Lori collection and a Steve collection. I don't know what happened. Anybody who wants to jump in on that, please do, because I think squaring that circle is a very hard thing to do.
Yeah, that's the magic question. That's, I think that's always present. You know, how do you find the people? We still have a talent shortage in many verticals and for many roles. So, you know, how do you square that up? I believe truly that starts with education. It starts with programs like Steve's. It starts at home with families. It starts in not just junior high, but even elementary school. And this isn't an easy fix. Yeah, it's not going to happen overnight. It's a mindset issue, I believe, that parents are telling their kids, you know, little Johnny, see if you don't go to college, you're going to end up like him as a janitor or as a car mechanic. Or so I believe truly that it's a mindset issue that's got to be shifted with teachers and leaders and people that speak into children's lives.
You know, this is an opportunity though too, and I mean, people are learning how to bake bread for the first time. I think this is an opportunity for folks to learn how to program. They can learn how to understand fiber optic communications. Whether it's DAS infrastructure. This is a great opportunity with, you look at the adage of Mike Rowe and dirty jobs and looking at the next iteration. And Steve is obviously pushing that. He's pushing that next iteration. And this is a great opportunity for the youth to be able to find mentors and to be able to help gravitate and learn on their own, because as Kira mentioned before, this is an unprecedented opportunity to really grow and take it to the next level. You look at Amazon, I mentioned before, 30,000 new jobs, average salary of $150,000. They're going to be spending another $700 million in new jobs and new opportunity. But most of these jobs are brand new. These kids are just coming out of college. It's going to be a new iteration for them that they have not experienced before. So again, if they buckle down, relearn, find good mentors, this is what it's all about.
And I also think too, it's so important that they have the right training, the proper training to be able to do what they have to do. I mean, I remember when I first got into the industry, I was looking over somebody's shoulder who had no time to train me. And that's how I had to learn. Wow, you know, I'm thinking, am I doing it the right way today? So I am, because I've had to look over several shoulders and take certifications, but do it the right way. And it starts absolutely early on. Find your right passion.
So good. I wish our time was not so tight. Lori, Doug, I didn't get a chance to pull you in here on the Q&A, but I do want to leave it with Steve Turner, because I want to ask the $1 million question, or what I would love to see become the $1 million question. If people want to get involved, if they want to participate, if they want to spread the word and begin to let people know what's available about, and of course, if they want to donate, what is the call to action?
It is go to bringbackthetrades.com. We have a Facebook page, Bring Back the Trades, and we also have Instagram, Bring Back the Trades. We're looking to get as many people involved and helping us as much as possible. I've grown from one person, this little tiny hat right here, 2.5 years ago, to a major nonprofit board with tons of people helping me. So I've got a lot of great people behind me. It's not just me, but we need as many people as we can, statewide, nationwide, worldwide, pushing this, because it's beyond needing to happen. If it doesn't happen, we're going to be in trouble.
So true. And the sponsorships, Lori, you mentioned during the end, the NEDAS sponsorship going toward Bring Back the Trades. Very exciting. You want to take one moment on that?
Super excited so far, Steve Turner. We have raised over $650 to this through NEDAS. So I just wanted to give that shout out. That's really exciting. So yes, it's on the Hoover app. Oh, and Alyssa. Oh, you're mute.
You're
Alyssa.
on mute, Alyssa. We would need that bigger number.
I just did the tally. So Lori just said $650. And if anybody's interested to make the number I'm about to say go even higher, I did create 2 ticket options in our checkout area, one for $50, one for $100, and you can choose up to 10 increments of that. So if you want to do $150, choose 3 to check out. So help us raise more money because we're up to $1,700 to bring back the training.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
It's everybody out there. So thank you for being here. Thank you, Lori. And we're really honored to be part of your success, Steve. Thank you for all you're doing.
And I want to say thank you to everybody very, very much. You know, it's great being involved.
Look at this beautiful group of humans. Like I said, we could do this the whole rest of the afternoon, guys. I am so sorry to have to bring this to an end, but we do have a couple more important things here in our agenda. Thanks to all of you. I'm just going to say thanks to everybody named Steve. Thanks to everybody named Lori. And then we'll add in a Doug and a Carrie there along with it. Guys, you're wonderful. We really appreciate all of you. Thanks for this great panel.
Thank you.
Thank you.